for an effortless finish to your day. New Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
This is News Talk.
Now then, you're welcome along. Monday evenings off the ball. Joe Molloy with you. We have a really good football show on the way after 9 o'clock. Dion Fanning in studio. We have Pat Nevin with us as well. Pat in Scotland licking their wounds after Saturday at the Aviva Stadium. Irish rugby also with some wound licking to do. Leinster and Ulster bowing out of the URC at the semi-final stages. We have Jerry Thornley and Fiona Hayes on Monday Night Rugby. This hour, Billy Joe Padden to talk all things GAA. 53106, the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Michael McCarthy is here in studio. Hello.
Joseph, how are you?
Very good. And Richard McCormack, if we're all going with full names. Richard, hello.
Good Lord, I feel like I'm in trouble now. What have I done?
Richard.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing up there? So, Richie McCormack Mick McCarthy here in studio.
Too familiar.
Those Scots, they came, Mick. They got it. They got it good. Sent them packing.
Just what we needed. Our friendly neighbours in Scotland, as the fans joined together in various pubs around Dublin 4 singing "We Hate England More Than You," just shows the connection between the two countries. And what we needed was a team to come over on their summer holidays and just lie down and give us a glorious 3-0 win to just get the Stephen Kenny regime back on track.
Did us a big favour.
They really did. Because Ireland played well, and there's lots of things that we can get into about the ins and outs of our performance and all. But what they really, really didn't show up, and everything after that is kind of secondary.
Yeah. Even John McGinn did say to Shane Duffy, apparently, Richie, look, if you give me a fourth one of these, I'm going to have to score. You need to stop passing the ball to me.
It was almost like, do you ever see with one of those World Cup games like you see back in the late 70s, like the whole disgrace of Hee-Haw, whereby one team kind of lays down and decides to not really put up a fight so the other one can go through? That's kind of what Saturday felt like, to a degree.
We should stress it wasn't, though.
I know it wasn't, absolutely not. Like we did play well, and you're hard pressed to pick out a bad performance from the Ireland side. But there is that other side of it where Scotland were muck. And like we're really bad. And kind of showed the Scotland that, to a degree, like I watched that playoff with Ukraine, and they weren't good in that either, really. So this wasn't really 100% unexpected from Scotland, because they're such a negative defensive side that if you do breach them, you can kind of make profit from there. But yeah, Jesus, Ireland were fantastic, and like vindication for pretty much all of the changes that Kenny made, because the 5 players that came in, I mean, 3 of them scored, and the other 2 didn't. One of them had his best game in terms of deliveries from a dead ball, especially in God knows how long. And the other one was Jason Malumbi, who looks like he's all of a sudden one of Ireland's best midfielders. So tally ho.
Certainly a much better energy about the team, even out of possession. On the ball, much better and more quality, and that's very important. But even just without the ball, more energy personified, I suppose, by Malumbi, and more difficult to play against. Because my real sense watching the Ukraine game at the Aviva Stadium was I can almost live with us miscontrolling passes and not delivering moments of quality when required. But just the lack of energy about the performance when Ukraine had the ball was almost unacceptable. And
when Ukraine had the ball?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Whereas opposed to when, so I was at Croke Park on Saturday, and I went home to watch the Ireland match, knowing the result, having listened to the radio commentary, and watched it for, I suppose, work purposes. And it didn't sound like the grimmest 90 minutes of Irish football in the last decade or so. But straight away, what jumped out, having been at the game in Ukraine, was Ireland without the ball. Yeah. Well, one, Knight dropping into midfield absolutely made for better distancing, but man, like they were actually trying to win it back.
Yeah.
And personified by Malumbi, that energy, and like McLean doesn't shirk energy as well. Against Ukraine, it was a case of no, go on,
let them have it.
We're as stodgy as you want here.
And it's funny, what stuck out to me was something that changed on Saturday as well, which was, and this is watching on TV, it's a very different experience, as you know, watching the Ukraine game, was the lack of urgency in attack, to taking 4 touches when you only needed 1 all the time, letting a defence completely set up, and they just did it constantly until maybe like 5 minutes from the end when they started speeding things up a little bit and just taking way too much out of the ball. And that was kind of gone on Saturday as well. Like, don't get me wrong, they did it at times and they slowed the game down probably more appropriately, I would say, at times, especially with a lead on Saturday. But again, just give and go, a little bit more oomph to it, you know. And Molumby is a big example of that, because it doesn't need to be the best player in the world for that position, especially when we don't have the best players in the world available to us. And I don't mean to be we always pick on Jeff Hendrick, and it's like as if we don't see what Jeff Hendrick does bring to a team that managers do. And we know that, like, any chances that were there against Armenia were due to Jeff Hendrick's vision and everything like that. I'm not saying he doesn't offer anything, but what he doesn't offer is that bounce and energy and, you know, just this sort of like what we need at the moment in midfield. And I'm sorry that if that picks on one player, but it was very noticeable that he was replaced with a guy who was just this big ball of energy. And obviously Molumby's tackle led to Obafemi's goal, one of the best goals we ever seen at Lansdowne Road, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
And my favourite goal, Richie, is the second one, if I'm being honest.
Scoop. I love a good scoop ball.
And the run, Troy Parrott's run is just so bloody brilliant. I mean, he basically creates the whole scenario with that run.
Well, that's an alchemy that you don't ordinarily see between forwards, and it kind of plays into something Mick said there, is that with the Armenia games and the Ukraine matches, there was a sense that Ireland were taking too much out of the ball in the forward line. And I said it the other night, like, I think there was confusion over the roles that the forwards had to play, because if you stick Adamida in the middle of them, like a decent target man for whom, you know, balls can bounce off, and then you've got two others you can feed off, that setup is pretty decent. When you have three forwards who are all kind of similar, it doesn't really work. And especially then you start taking up the same space as the wing backs, and you don't have enough manpower in midfield, and those issues were sorted. But there does seem to be something about Obafemi and Parrott together that you just can't train, and that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of spark that you'd hope can kind of keep blazing for a while and for a few games and into tomorrow night, especially, even if Obafemi's obviously not going to play. We'll get to that in a moment, but like that, it's that kind of special relationship that seems to already be there that you want to foster within a squad.
We should start the news round. It is brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. You are starting with the latest ahead of that game in Poland tomorrow.
Yeah, Republic of Ireland manager Stephen Kenny expects to be without Michael Obafemi for tomorrow's Nations League game with Ukraine in Łódź. The Swansea striker was replaced by Scott Hogan 11 minutes into the second half in Saturday's 3-0 win over Scotland after scoring one and setting up another. Obafemi suffering from a groin injury, according to Kenny this evening, who hopes to welcome Chidozie Ogbene back to the squad. There will be two changes in defence, with Shane Duffy suspended and John Egan back with his partner, who's expecting a baby. Ukraine, meanwhile, have been dealing with a bout of illness ahead of the game, with manager Alexander Petrikov insisting it's not COVID-related. Midfielder Alexander Zubkov is still running a high temperature, but Andriy Yarmolenko and Ruslan Malinkovsky are both expected to be fit.
Dion Fanning along for the football show after 9. Pat Nevin is going to join us as well. We had our quarter-final draw for the All-Ireland Football Championship, which is now starting to bubble up nicely. We generally wait most of the summer for this to happen, so here we are.
Yeah, and all four All-Ireland football quarter-finals. Good news for those of you who are in Croke Park at the weekend. We'll be back at Croke Park on Saturday, June 25th. Clare and the Ulster champions Derry will be first up. That is a 3:45 throw-in. It will be followed at 6 by Dublin and Cork. The following day sees Armagh play Galway. That starts at 1:45 and trails the meeting of Kerry and Mayo, which is slated to start at 4 that Sunday afternoon. And speaking on this morning's OTB AM, former Meath skipper Anthony Moyles believes Mayo can cause Kerry problems despite that underwhelming display against Kildare on Saturday.
As I said, they've got the personnel. They certainly have the personnel. And what they do, and what Kerry don't particularly like to do, is they attack from that full back line. So Clifford will find himself a lot of the time running back down the pitch. You know, so he will, and it will happen. And if they feel that they need to go, Keegan, Mullen, or whoever it is, Hessian, whoever it is back in there, Durkin, McLaughlin, they will go. So they will test you both on to use the rugby parlance, both sides of the ball. They will test you on, you know, from defending, and they'll test you, see how much, you know, fortitude you have to go back the other way. Now Kerry have changed that in the last year or so. You can definitely see that they're willing to roll up the socks and get back and work.
No way was the second goal better than the third. Hipster opinions from OTB. I'm a lot of things. I am not a hipster. I couldn't, if I tried, be a hipster. Don't worry about that. The
black rimmed glasses, the shirt. I don't know, Joe. It's all there. All the pieces are in place.
He's wearing clothes.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
There are lenses in these glasses. Like they help me see. But anyway, I'll push on. So, of course, the Obafemi's strike was a more thrilling moment. I'm not saying that, but in terms of, I would argue quality as well. Look, you turn, you smack a shot, it goes in, doesn't go in. I get that, okay? But it's not as repeatable as, like, the movement there from Parrott is just so good, and the pass from Obafemi is so deliberate and picked out, and it's all well timed, and it's a more sustainable model. We can't just give the ball to Michael there every time and say, listen, will you hit a thunderbuster from 35 yards?
Do you know what, though? Just in terms of how good a goal it was, though, that's actually a very fair point about its repeatability, right? It being a more sustainable model of scoring a goal. And it was great that two were arguing about neither of them were crosses into Shane Duffy, although that did set up the first goal, obviously.
Crucial.
Without which the second and third would not have happened, you would argue. But this debate came up yesterday, and I immediately said, the first goal, as in Parrott's goal, more enjoyable, like just in some ways just a better goal, right?
Crafted.
Yeah, because the other one was just a thunder bastard, for want of a better word, right? But watching
perfectly good word.
Watching it again, yeah, it is a perfectly good word. Watching it, just maybe not on radio at this hour of the evening. Watching it again a few times, I like the Obafemi goal more and more because it isn't just a shot. There's a lot to it. There's the tackle, there's Parrott's quick thinking, and then there's Obafemi's even more quick thinking. Think about how quick he takes that one touch, two touch goal.
Yeah.
You know, and he knows where Gordon is in relation to the goal as well.
Absolutely.
Gordon's miles off his line, and he knows that if he's on the line, he probably catches it. If he's where he is, then he's in trouble if the ball swerves.
Yeah, so, and it's such a beautiful shot. Like, I mean, you know, again, you won't do that again, but like, let's enjoy it for what it was. It was a beautiful goal.
It's definitely more thrilling if you were to measure it in like Yelp decibels.
Oh yeah, there was a Yelp is the exact word. I actually started. I went into convulsions of laughter after it. Actually,
no, I couldn't
believe it had happened.
Ireland don't score goals like either of them. Like, the thing about it is, we don't score many goals. First of all, that's like obviously a given. And second of all, we don't score goals of high quality. And it's really difficult, like when you take away the moment goals, like obviously the pair of Houghton goals and maybe Shane Long against Germany, etc. Like, where are the goals of that kind of quality that Ireland have scored down through the years? They're really, really few and far between.
Like, so many people have been talking about Mark Kennedy's goal against Yugoslavia. That was in another century. That was 1999. That's a long time ago. I think Kevin Doyle got a goal against Slovakia over there in the depths of the Stan era. That was as good as that, I would say. It was a brilliant goal. But God, there aren't many.
No, we don't have many. Not as good as the two on Saturday, but Wes's goal against Sweden at the Euros was beautiful, and it was
different
quality.
Type of goal,
if you're using quality, then that one for sure. And I guess, I mean, thrilling strikes from distance we're not big on. I mean, I suppose the late Liam Miller had that strike against Sweden and Stan's first day, which was eye-catching in its own way. Come here, on the GA front then. So we have this double header at Croke Park both days. I was at Croker on Saturday, I mentioned, and I mean, it was empty. I mean, it was really, really sparse. The Seagulls obviously convene on Croke Park when they think it's emptying. They're seriously confused this year. Like, this place, it seems to be emptying and it's not emptying. What's going on? Like, we're messing with we're messing with the seagull population here. Okay, the rhythms.
Maybe there's a benefit after all this.
They're like waiting for dinner, going, we've been here since 2. This place has been emptying since what's going on? When's the peak of this thing? So it wasn't ideal. More so because of what it's asking fans to do, I suppose, is the issue. Now, the only like nagging thing in my head is, you take Clare, for instance. Of that Clare squad, only 7 of those players in their careers have played at Croke Park.
Yeah.
And so I've no doubt they were eager to play Croke Park and have a big day in Croke Park, and I appreciate the crowd issue. And the other argument you can make forward is, it does make for a better spectacle. It does make for better games, Croke Park, than tight provincial grounds, I think. It's a faster turf. There's more space. Defences are less likely to be on top. And like Kildare put 15 men, we'll talk about this with Billy Joe. Like Kildare, talk about schizophrenic, from the Leinster final to their whole philosophy turning on the space of 70 minutes. They were 15 men behind the ball. Like Daniel Flynn wasn't even left up. Everyone behind the ball. Think at a tighter provincial ground, that even deadens the spectacle more. So I'm in two minds. I think ultimately I'd side on the fact that you do want memorable occasions and a sense of atmosphere. But I do see some of the arguments for Croke Park, and I do look at that Clare team where a whole bunch of them played their first ever day in Croke Park in their career,
and they won. They earned their All-Ireland quarter-final against Derry in Croke Park in 2 weeks, if you ask me. And you know, like in some ways, Croke Park isn't the holy grail for so many teams either. Like Clare have almost been punished by the fact that they haven't been yo-yoing in the league.
Yeah.
Because these teams do get their day out for Division 3 finals and so on, and Clare have been in Division 2 and mid-table for so long, which is an incredible achievement in itself. Like it's not. Most teams play a little bit more in Croke Park, I would say. But look, I do see that point. I still think though that winner, that Jamie Malone winner, or was it Keane Sexton? Sorry, one of the two who were amazing, both of them on the day. Hit a winner into a Hill 16 that had a load of ads and no people. And I think there's something just crushing about that. And that's only one part of it. As you mentioned, and we're kind of glossing over it because we feel like we've talked about it so much, the issue is people from Mayo, from maybe less so from Kildare, it's not as big an issue, but people from Mayo, Roscommon and Clare for games of that size shouldn't have had to travel all the way to Dublin that was Saturday.
I agree totally. That's wrong. And everybody's talking about the cost of living. And I mean, there does have to be some part of the GAA hierarchy that do look at that completely empty stadium. And I mean, it was empty. It was really
we haven't
awful.
did the Tannoy announce an official attendance at any point?
No,
they didn't. And there was some comment on like what people having to do a bit of sleuthing to try and find out the official attendance. That's not a good sign. But also look, and I hold my hands up that if there's an official attendance announced somewhere and it was done as openly as they always do, then fine, and I apologise. But if not, if they're trying to hide that, what's that saying to you? Like, what is the point of that? Who are they representing that they're trying to hide the attendance of their games?
It would be worth
PR reasons.
It would be worth actually the GA sitting down and just let's take that weekend as a snapshot of where we are. And I think there were very few at Páirc Uí Chaoimh even for that Cork Limerick game. Like it was paltry. But imagine somebody sat down and said, okay, here we are, we're the GA board. I don't know quite how it works exactly. So we had this game, it's 2022. We had this game where we dragged 3 counties from the other side of the country and asked them to come up to Croke Park. Given the cost of living and the cost of diesel and the cost of hotels in Dublin, most people can't afford that right now. Our members can't afford that right now. And what's more, the game was not available free to air. It was on a pay-per-view channel. Are we all thinking this is good? Are we in a good spot here? And I'd love to hear that conversation. It's not great.
No, it's and that's it. And
snapshot.
And here's the thing, and this isn't a comment on the GEA. This is a comment on basically all people in a position of power is the wrong word, but organisation almost, in that you don't see these arguments on their merits. You see that as, we're being criticised from all sides. If we didn't play people in Croke Park, people would say it's a white elephant. People would say this, that. People, and that's what you see, and you become very, you become very tunnel visioned on. We're doing the right thing. We know what's going on, and everybody else is criticising us. But actually, the 99% of people you don't hear from are actually on our side. And I'm convinced that would be the conversation.
Yeah,
but I would love that to be an open conversation, because again, it's like nobody wants to be criticising anybody. That's not the point. The point here is to try and get it right and treat the GA as this community organisation that we like to think it is. Look, on the other side of it, I absolutely think that the All-Ireland football quarterfinals that many have been arguing, put like Clare and Derry, that should be on in Dr. Hyde Park. And I would absolutely, I don't care how many people come to this game, that's the reward you get, that's when you're playing Croke Park.
I think that's fair. Sorry, Richie, we're rabbiting here. Tailteann Cup.
Yeah, they wanted to make this special. They wanted to make it its own unique identity, but the Tailteann Cup final will serve as the curtain raiser to the first of this year's All-Ireland football semi-finals. That will be on Saturday, July the 9th.
You say you deliver that, I would say, in withering tone.
A little bit. Kind of goes against. It's a bit throwaway for something that they wanted to ensure would be its own competition, and that they'd be able to sell this to the quote-unquote lesser counties and to the masses as well. And to have people trickling in for an All-Ireland semi-final and go, what's that? Is that the Tailteann Cup? Nobody cares.
Are they worried about turnout, do we think, Rich? Is that the... Well, based on yesterday, they're not.
Are they worried about turnout? Well, Jesus, it'd be a fine turnabout if they were suddenly worried about turnout. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking is. They're just trying to fill it in the calendar.
I think there's an argument of trying to have as big a crowd as you can at it, and it's the reward is you play on a big day in Croke Park. That's certainly been always the idea with the John McDonagh Cup was played before the Leinster final. There wasn't a great crowd at that either, but the idea would be that 30 or 40,000 people are there watching it, where it would be less otherwise. I don't really have a major problem with that. I do think that this constant stream of double headers, I don't know if the hurling quarterfinals did sell out, but I was kind of half looking at tickets, and there was none available after a few minutes. Whether that was a Ticketmaster, I never went back and checked, but no need for both of those games to be on in Thurles at the same time on the same day. Other than, again, TV, all of these things. Double headers don't serve fans at all.
Oh, they're a pain.
And I'm so sick of talking about it. And I feel like ever since I did here first on the show, they've been just non-stop everything. The answer to this is a double header.
That 45-minute wait between matches is just interminable.
Yeah.
So, we had Live Golf doing its thing, and then the PGA Tour struck back in dramatic fashion last night with its marquee name, Richie.
Yeah, Rory McIlroy claiming his first tournament victory in little under a year, taking his PGA Tour total of 21 victories last night. A final round of 62 saw him win the Canadian Open by 2 strokes, ending the weekend on 19 under par. Tony Finau was second on 17 under. Shane Lowry shot a final round of 66 to secure a top 10 finish in Toronto. But McIlroy said his victory was all the sweeter given the unfolding events from Live Golf across the Atlantic.
Yeah, I wanted it a lot. I wanted it at the start of the day. And there was a few different incentives in there. I've been up against JT quite a bit in the past, and he's gotten the better of me a couple of times. So I knew I had to play really good to beat him. Tony as well. Tony played incredible golf today too. So that was a big part of it. I think going up against the best and beating the best is always makes it extra special. And then I alluded to, I had extra motivation, of what's going on across the pond. The guy that's spearheading that tour has 20 wins in the PGA Tour, and I was tied with him, and I wanted to get one ahead of him, and I did. So that was really cool for me, just a little, sense of pride on that one.
Interesting.
I didn't like that as much as I did like his little dig in the immediate, when he won the tournament, he was interviewed immediately on the green with a load of Irish people singing "Ole Ole" in the background.
No, Canada. How many Irish people in Canada?
It's insane. So they all decided to go out and see Rory. It was brilliant. Yeah. And then Rory had this little dig where he didn't quite allude to what he was talking about, but that people knew that he meant 21 one more than so and so. That was better. I thought that was a little bit too kind of God, this is really on his mind that he really hates Greg Norman.
I don't really think it's enough to be and I had the last laugh either.
I know. Greg Norman, another guy passed me on the Roll of Honour. Even more reason to be bitter and twisted.
Yeah. Rory played well though.
He was great. Yeah, God, I mean, there was a 25-30 minute period in there where I was thinking, where I've never seen him hit shots so bad. There was a drive that he hit 150 yards at one point.
He hooked 2 drivers and there was another double cross in there.
Yeah.
Wobbled.
And then, but in fairness to him, as soon as Thomas levelled with him, it was Thomas that blew it in the end, so 18, Rory's 18th was and 17 and 18, what a way to win a tournament, and it was brilliant because I can't remember the last time I watched a Sunday night of a random PGA Tour event. Now I know it's the week before the US Open and there's a little bit of a build up to it, but still I was brought in because Rory was in contention, and it was great. That was 2-3 hours last night where I was watching golf where I wouldn't normally been. I thought, what a week for it to happen.
Yeah, he was really good. His wedge play was so improved. That's the headline news in some respects. He missed 2 or 3 short little putts, as is his wont, but other than that he put it very well. I think he was 7th in putting, which for him
62 on a Sunday as well, no matter how easy the course is.
Yeah, 7th for him in putting is enough for him to win a competition if he's playing anyway well. But the wedges were so good, and there was a moment where he was stepping into the Sky booth to be interviewed by Nick Doherty, and he had overheard that they were complimenting his wedge play, and as Radar was handing him the mic to step in and be interviewed by Doherty, Rory said, apparently I'm a bad wedge player. So he's very aware of the conversation around him, and it was much improved. So US Open, very interesting. I think Phil Mickelson's about to do his press conference in front of the US media right now, and
he's done it, I think, Joe.
Oh, has he? A big a 9/11 families group wrote a really strongly worded letter over the weekend, which may crystallise things more so for an American audience than sports washing and human rights in a country far, far away. But Saudi Arabia, 9/11, and this group coming out saying, Phil, Dustin Johnson, we're ashamed of you. That could have led to an interesting press conference. I don't know, did you see any of it?
I didn't see it. I'm just trying to parse through the quotes here. He's still not giving up hope of competing on the PGA Tour, that kind of stuff. I don't think the 9/11 stuff was put to him. Judging from the quotes that I'm seeing here, but you'll have to forgive me for just
no, you're fine
in front of me. But it's more a case of he wants to build bridges rather than being left out on his own and being anti-American or whatever.
Mick is telling me here we'll play some of that after 8:40 in rugby. We'll play some of what Mickelson's saying at Brookline US Open. Fellas, we're out of time. Richard, thank you.
Joseph, you're welcome.
Michael.